Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson. And in this lesson I want to show you guys what is AQL and how we can use AQL in our rules. So a brief overview, AQL is an acronym for Aerial Query Language, which basically is the scripting language of QRadar. We can use it to make our detections more advanced and specific. So, using the example from our previous video, let's say, for example, I would like to create an AQL query to search only for those filters. So I have multiple ways to do that. First of all, I can go ahead and switch from quick filter to advanced search, and I can start typing manually my AQL. However, my preferred way of doing it, QRadar has a sort of automated tool to generate those searches, is we can go ahead and click Save Search right here. I'm gonna name it AQL test, and you can save it with the default settings. Okay, and search is saved. Now, if we go ahead, click on the search right here, and click on Manage Search Results, it's gonna bring, sorry, not this window. It's gonna bring us to, if we click on Edit Search, it's gonna bring us to a list of our saved searches. So if I type in AQL test, which is what I named my search, and I click on it, I have an option here to show AQL. And it's gonna give us this long string, so I'm gonna copy it and go back to log activity. And now, let's go ahead and explain what each of those parts mean, right? So on the first line, it's our select statement. We're telling QRadar to select something as something. So the first one is QID name, which is basically a function. QID name takes a QID and translate it to an event name, and it's gonna, this is why we have the as event name here. So it's gonna translate the QID to an event name and display it under this parameter. Same thing goes for log source name. It takes a log source ID, translate it, and shows it as log source. And we have event count, we have start time, category name, which is also a function. Everything that has a parenthesis around it is a function. We have source IP, destination IP, all of the basic information. We can leave it like this. We can modify it as we want. I'm just going to leave it like this for now. And the second line, it's basically where do we want to select it from. So we are dealing with events. So we're going to select from events. Where, and the where statement is basically specifying from exactly, in this case at least, which log source ID and QID we want to specify the events from. So because we have a specific example, log source ID of 70, it means Windows events. And I don't think IBM has a table for different IDs. I'm not sure about this. But if you're not sure which ID belongs to which log source type, you can just create a new search targeting that log source type, convert it to AQL like we have done in this instance, and it will show you in the AQL the ID of that log source type. And the QID, we have already seen it in the previous video. This is a specific identifier of the event we are working with. So we are selecting only those two conditions. And then we can do some sorting. So we are sorting by start time in a descending order for the last 5 minutes. So if we go ahead and hit on search, it's going to display us basically the same information that would have been presented if we were using the normal filtering, but it shows us the same results. So let's say, for example, that we would like to use this in our rules, okay? So let's go back to our use case manager, to the rule that we have created, edit it, and I'm going to delete those two tests that we have, and I'm going to filter for AQL. Okay. And now we can open this window and type in our AQL query. Now, one important thing to notice is that when we do these AQL rules, we do not copy all of the query itself. If you see, we open this, it tells us enter an AQL query, and if we click on the question mark here, we get some information about this. Basically, we need to copy. You need only type the conditions when you build your where clause. Okay, so if you go back here and we see our where clause, we only copy that part, because that part tells AQL what events specifically we are targeting. So if you copy that part, go back here and paste it in, right? You can delete the parentheses, we don't need them. And hit submit. And then it tells us when the event matches log source ID equals 70 and the QID equals our ID. And if we hit on finish, give it a refresh here, we see that it is changed. And if we were to go to our offenses and, for example, close this one, and I would wait a few moments here and I would pause the video in order to show you that the offense is generated again with our AQL filtering. All right, guys, welcome back. And as we can see after a few moments, after our detection has been updated, we can see that the same offense is being triggered, even though we changed the rule to AQL. But at the end of the day, it's the same. It's looking for the same type of events, so it would trigger the alert regardless. And if you go ahead and click on display right here, and we click on rules, we can see a list of rules contributing to the offense, right? So we can see that for this detection, we have 2 events associated with it. And if we double click on it, we can see our rule definition right here. And of course, this is a very basic scenario. Your AQL queries can be way more detailed and more tuned to your specific cases. We're going to cover AQL more in depth in later parts of the course. We have a dedicated section of it. But just take into consideration that AQL is rather expensive on processing power. So I would recommend using it only if your needs cannot be met with the built-in filtering right here. So if you can use those filters, I would recommend it more than AQL because of performance considerations. But regardless, it's good to have options, and in this video we have seen how we can implement that. And we're going to cover AQL more in depth in later parts of the course. But for this video, this has been the example. So I will see you guys in the next one.